Hi guys, my name's Elliot Harlin Bethel, and I've been asked quite a lot recently, and I've seen quite a few people doing videos similar to this, so I thought I'd get one out there. Over the last 3 years, I've tried to read at least 2 books or listen to 2 audio books every week for the last 3 years. And a question I get asked quite a lot by people, especially if they've got some time on their hands or they go on holiday, is what is a good book to pick up and read for self-development or energy healing. And I'm going to go through 11 books that I read that really had a profound effect on my life. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If there's one of the books that I bring up that you'd like me to go into more depth or to explain from my perception, because as you've heard me mention in other videos, when 300 people go to the cinema to watch a film, there's 300 different versions of that film getting seen, because everybody will see it from their level of vibration, their level of perception, or what they need to see. So if you'd like to hear my versions on any of these books or how I have perceived them, then pop it in the comments below and I'll be happy to do that. And I'm going to start it off with the 5 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Jose Ruiz, a father and son shaman pair who literally, when I read this book, it was so simple but so effective. And sometimes I find that the things that are right in front of our face are the things that we don't pay attention to, and by implementing very small things can have massive shifts and big profound effects. And I'm going to go through the 5 agreements very briefly, just the titles of them. It's be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best and be skeptical, but learn to listen. Go out and buy the book, read it. It's so simple. It'll make so much sense. You'll almost feel like you've written the book yourself. Next up is Autobiography of a Yogi. And you've probably heard a lot of spiritual people talk about this book. I know that Steve Jobs, before he died, actually made it a requisite that he wanted a copy of this given to everybody at his funeral, because he would read this almost on a yearly basis. And this follows the travels of Paramahansa Yogananda, and it talks about some of the synchronicities that he's had and how his beliefs led on to these synchronicities, and a whole vast lot of other things, to teleportation to, it's very eye-opening. Buy a copy of it. I feel like it's a book that everybody should have on their bookshelf. Can't recommend it any more than that, to be fair. The next book was actually given to me by a friend, and when I first met her, we made a decision to bring each other a book that had had a profound effect on our lives. And I bought her a copy of the Celestine Prophecy, which is one of my books, but I haven't got a copy here because I give away quite a few copies of that because I found it such a great book. And although it's written as a fictional book, I believe that there's so much depth and facts to a lot of the references in it. And there's also a very low budget film you can watch on Netflix, and I believe they're making a new version of it at the moment. But the book that she gave me was Who Says You Cant Do by Daniel Chidiak. And I kind of left it on my shelf, if I'm honest, for about 1.5 years because it didn't really resonate with me, and it just didn't feel at the time that it was right for me. And then when I picked it up, again, it was another book that I felt that I'd almost written myself. It was, if I'm honest, out of all the books I've read, this one probably had more of a profound impact on me than all of the other books, because, as I said, it almost felt like I'd written it myself. It's a lot of the things that I was implementing in my life subconsciously without realizing at the time. I was doing them because they felt right. And then when I read this book, it was almost like, oh, I've been doing that. I've been doing that. I've been doing that. So it was like a really, really nice little confirmation for me. And it meant a lot to me. So yeah, definitely get a copy of that. It's very, very good. The next up is a book called Before You Know It, The Unconscious Reasons We Do What We Do. And this was a real eye-opener to me in that I read a lot of books on body language and NLP and how you can use these for good, but ultimately I'd see people using them to manipulate and control, which I'm not comfortable with. and I've done previous videos on this before, but this also goes into advertising and how a lot of it is used in advertising, and it's very, very interesting how the human mind works. Like if you, I think this is the book that goes into if you pass someone a warm cup of coffee, they're more likely to like you than if you pass them a cold drink. And it was done in tests in an elevator where people coming for an interview were passed a warm cup of coffee or a cold drink and seeing their reactions and following them. Very, very good book. I'm also going to say off the back of this, which will be a 12th book, is one called The Marshmallow Test. That was a really, really interesting read, but that's not here today. Next up is The Power of Habit. And as you probably know, if you follow my channel, I have been addicted to, or I believed I was addicted to, drugs, alcohol, sex, food, just about anything that you could do in quantities. I was doing it in quantities until I found out that what I was actually addicted to was thinking, and that I just needed to meditate and calm my mind, because like a computer, if you open up 20 windows and run 20 different programs, the computer starts to slow down and it needs to be rebooted, or it needs to have some time to process things. The human mind's like that. You need to meditate and let yourself shut down. But this book was very interesting on creating habits and how to change habits and how to almost hack your subconscious. And this led me on to other books, learning how to biohack the subconscious and really, really get in there and change habits. So yeah, it's a very, very good book, and very fascinating. You'll probably read it and you think, oh, maybe that's the reason why I'm doing that over and over again. And where you've been trying to give it up so much and realizing you're just giving more attention to it and creating more of a habit, it's really good because it gives you that sort of third person view of what you're doing. So yeah, definitely give that a go. Next one is Think Rich and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Again, a book that I picked up and I read the first sort of half and then put it down, and didn't feel like it resonated at the time, because I thought it was all about getting rich, but there's so much more depth to this. And when you actually read between the lines, there's a lot of underlying things in there about how to utilize your chakra and your energy system to draw to you what you want to draw to you. So I think it's one of the top selling books. I know there's been well over 20 million copies sold, and that was a long time ago. So and that actually led me on to an audio book called Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard, which I'm going to do a separate audio book one. So yeah, Think Rich, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Next up is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And this goes into how we can almost cure ourselves with belief, and how what we believe ultimately becomes our reality. And I read this probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and at the time I thought it was a bit too magical, like it wasn't real, but I implement this stuff on a daily basis now, and it happens over and over and over again. So yep, I definitely recommend this. Next up is Earthing. If you follow me and you know that I went a third of last year without eating food, one of the methods I use to help with my appetite and to heal my body is earthing, which is taking your shoes and socks off and standing on either mud, grass, sand, or anything that can transmit the protons, neutrons and electrons from the earth into your body, so that symbology between the two, it actually clears out quite a lot of inflammation in the body. And this gives scientific studies, photos, scans and everything to back all that up. And the guys also brought out earthing bed sheets, where you can plug your bed sheets into the wall, which connects to the earthing, so that you're actually connected to the earth for the 6 to 8 hours that you sleep of a night. And a lot of sports people actually use this. I know that a lot of sprinters use these bed sheets. I haven't invested yet, but I am looking into it. So yes, a very good book. Next up is Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. And this is basically that every single one of us is our own hero, and we're all on our own journey, and we've all got our own obstacles to overcome. but you need to go within and listen and find out what those obstacles you're here to overcome are. And it goes through ancient mythology, and it breaks it down. It's a very, very complicated book to read. I wouldn't pick this as one of the first of the 11. I'd probably leave this to last, because it's quite intense, and it's one of those ones that the more you read it, the more will come to light for you, and the more that you'll be able to break it down. There's also a very, very good 5-part documentary on Netflix called Joseph Campbell's Power of the Myth. Stick with it. It was created in 1985, I think. So it's not the best quality. It's an interview with Joseph Campbell, and it's actually filmed on the ranch the guy who wrote the Star Wars films owned, because Joseph Campbell actually helped George Lucas write the films, and that's why there's a lot of references to use the Force. Using the Force is knowing how to use prana, chi, energy, how to use your energy to manipulate things. There's a lot of really, really in-depth hidden meanings, just like the Matrix films, just like Fight Club. There's very, very in-depth terminology and meanings behind, like in Fight Club, bringing the debt of the world down to zero, so everyone's back at ground zero and we're all equal. In the Matrix, it's obviously learning that there are forces that can sap our energy, and that we're all our own energy, and when we learn how to use our own energy systems, we become the one and we take control of our lives. So yeah, another really, really good book. And last up, obviously I don't have a copy of the Celestine Prophecy anymore. Last up is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this is, to me, it's anyone in business should read this. I see a lot of similarities in this and the Book of One by Ra, the sun god, the Egyptian sun god. It basically teaches that when you go into any situation, you should try and have the outcome for the highest good for the greatest number of people, because we're all connected, and when you do everything for the whole, it benefits everyone. It benefits yourself and it benefits other people. Just by doing something to help someone else, it comes back to you because you feel that energy. So that's my last book. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As I said, if you'd like me to go into detail of any of these books, then write in the comments below. And I will be doing one on audio books and films at some point as well. So good to see you again. I won't see you guys till Monday now, because I do a video every day apart from Sundays. Enjoy your weekend. Love ya.